All right, let's get more reaction on this saga. JJ Tabane joining us. So JJ, let's talk about everything we're seeing happen within the ANC, right? Because we can talk about more of what's happening in Kandla in a moment. I spoke to Pule Mabe yesterday, and he flat out denies that there's any sort of uprising within the organization, despite senior leaders joining forces with Jacob Zuma, making all sorts of statements against the ANC's leadership.
He's probably right, and I've been, of the view that there's a lot of, if you like, hype, right, around people like Jacob Zuma, people like Makashule, in that if action is taken against them, part of why they would have cautioned the ANC not to do so was that there was going to be an uprising of branches. You'd remember that Makashule likes to say that nobody can remove him but the branches. And so the anticipation was that if he was suspended, that 30 days that he agreed, remember there was a disagreement out of the NEC about how long he should be given to step aside. Initially, it was said he must step aside in a week. Then they fought. They had to have another meeting of the NEC and then said 30 days. And then you would have seen that straight after that announcement, there were sort of rumblings that there's going to be a shutdown of the country and what have you. None of that materialized. The weekend shenanigans that we saw in Nkandla was also to precipitate that kind of uprising. It was no more than really a picnic, if you like, because it was really quite a handful of people, maybe 1,000 people, at most 1,500, 2,000 people. But not an uprising that you would expect from a popular figure who have almost exaggerated his sense of a grip on the politics now, as opposed to the grip that he had, let's say, in Polokwane or in Mangaung, when he was elected once and then twice, right? So Pule Mabe is quite right. There's no uprising in the ANC. You'd have had the interview that Prince Mashele had with Sally earlier on, where he was saying the ANC branch members, frankly, are going to wake up tomorrow and get on with their business. Not to say that these guys are not important, but there's no uprising, because that would be factually actually incorrect. It's not true. And what has happened is that the balance of forces within the NEC have now tilted firmly on the side of the CR17, if you like, faction, as opposed to the RET faction. That's why that NEC was able to suspend Makashule, was able today to suspend Carl Niehaus, because they have now realized they've got the grip, they've got the numbers, and they have now drawn the line in the sand about how the ANC should proceed forward.
It's very interesting, and it's good that you point that out, because the agenda being pushed by those we see in Nkandla could be one of there being an uprising, and that's why we saw the large numbers. But it's good to have it in context to show that that's actually not the case. So let's go back to tonight and Jacob Zuma possibly handing himself over or being arrested. We know he has until midnight to do so. We know there's an attempt, a letter to the Constitutional Court that many would argue is absolute rubbish. It's not going to work. It's not a formal application. It hasn't been put forward before the court before the close of business today. And another delay tactic, some would argue. But then you hear things that Edward Zuma says, right, in a constitutional democracy, where he is going against the very principles of law and order, saying, we will not allow police to enter this homestead to arrest my father. It is concerning, and it means that the police minister needs to act here, which we don't seem to see happening.
Yeah. Look, I mean, first of all, in terms of the letter to the Concord, if you look at that letter, you see Kaiser again tweeted to say, if you look at paragraph 5 of that letter, it basically admits, right, or concedes, rather, the correct word, right, that the Constitutional Court, has to bind the law. In other words, the High Court, right, is bound by the decision of the Concord. That's why they're approaching the Concord, which in a sense admits that they've wasted time. We wasted all of our time. I mean, Dalimpufu spoke for 6 hours yesterday trying to convince that court that it should overrule the higher court, which already gives us a sense of what's going to happen on Friday. They themselves can see that that's not going to buy them any favor or any time. What the State Capture Commission representative yesterday said was that Jacob Zuma continues to break the law and is asking the court to do so. When you hear what his son is saying, it's clear that they have reached a point where they don't know what else to do. And hopefully by 12, maybe the Concord may have mercy on them. That's really as basic as that. And that's why he has to show the bravado, I'm going to die for Zuma and all of these things. The reality is the clock cannot be unticked as he believes it can. And at 12 o'clock, the police would have had to act or themselves face the music. But I'm not sure. I mean, we don't even know whether Zuma is in the house, Shahan.
Yeah, exactly.
Please do not dismiss that as a possibility that he could have fled. But obviously, as our reporters were saying, that may well be far-fetched. But it is being touted somewhere that if he believes so firmly that it's a death sentence, right, and clearly he's not ready to go, why would he sit around and wait to be arrested? I mean, that could be another theory that we may have to look at. But again, it's all speculation and, you know, stuff that has to fill up time before 12 o'clock.